Humans on the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we're doing a video talking about giving Konami credit. We don't do that very often. We kind of just normally just kind of poop all over Konami, say they don't do this, the game is so expensive, products are getting pushed back, what's up with the production on products, like come on, all this stuff, right? Not enough reprints, whatever it is. And you know what? Today I want to give them a little bit of credit. I think Konami's actually been nailing legacy support as of late, specifically in core sets. I mean, you don't really see as much legacy support elsewhere. You'll see it here and there. Like you'll see random sets like the Magnificent Mavens, box and stuff like that. But normally we get most of our legacy support in core sets. So I want to give Konami credit because they've been absolutely nailing some of the legacy support they've been giving over the last little bit. I don't even usually count super new archetypes that are just getting their consequential, support in like the next set. Because whenever you get a core set or a deck build pack, there'll usually be one or two cards for those archetypes in the next core set, and maybe in the next one after that, the next two usually. But this one is like a very particular case. Exorcisters looked like one of the worst archetypes we had gotten over the last couple of years, period. And pretty much like even the card they got in the core set before Power of the Elements didn't fix them. And then literally just in Power of the Elements, they got two cards. One of them, the trap is really good, but I would argue they didn't even need it. It's really nice and we're going to take advantage of it for sure. It's a good card. But Malfa literally fixed the archetype straight up. This card is crazy. It extends itself onto the field and then straight up gets out another Exorcister at the same time without your normal summon getting you to a rank 4. In Exorcisters, it's just chef's kiss. So good. And then, of course, Litania. This card being, in most scenarios, just a banish 2. Just banish 2. No problem. No problem. Banish 2. That's fine. Rika, it came out in the same deck build pack as Eldritch and Adamancipator, two immediate, all-time powerful decks that we have seen. Eldritch has hung around, Adamancipator is too degenerate, so it's seen hits that kind of pushed it back down to rogue level, but we still see it here and there every once in a while. And then Rika fell so far behind, and then they finally gave it some awesome legacy support between the new field spell and the new monster extender. The deck just literally went up a whole, doubled its power, pretty much. You had a 1-card combo before that was a 1-card, 1 interruption with 1 follow-up. Now, it's a 1-card combo with 2 interruptions and 2 follow-ups off of 1 card. That is very, very insane value. That is almost Marine Cess levels of value in Rika. And this card's crazy. And then also the extender, helping you handle cards like Nib if it even wants to be played in other decks. But for the most part, just the fact that the deck is just so much more powerful now. I think it's a really good mid-range control deck when this comes out. I don't think it's tier 1 level by any means, but I do think it's the kind of deck that if you don't know what it does, they're going to set up 3 interruptions off 2 cards and have 3 hand traps in hand, or set 1 or 2 cards, and you're just going to be damn, that is a lot to fight through against this little girly plant deck. So respect to Konami for finally giving Rika what they deserved. Mathmech, been a while. I wouldn't even argue that Mathmech needed support. I'm sure their fans would say, yeah, we needed it. But these decks always float around as a scary option. It can do some pretty cool combos going first. Their Trishula-esque monster is really strong, of course. But now they just get one of the most insane extenders. And this is technically just a Cyber Bomb extender card now. Without your normal summon, gets you 2 Cyber monsters on field. And pretty much by itself just sets up that Trishula play, and then some. I think this card is Heat Soul plus the Trishula play without your normal summon. That is insane value off of 1 extender in hand, especially when you can bait hand traps with stuff like your normal summons and just trying to play outright before this. Really, really good. This card's insane. Then we move to some of the stuff in Darkwing Blast. We're not even halfway through the reveals of Darkwing Blast, but the Blackwing support already puts that set a leg up over a lot of the core sets we've gotten in the last year. I mean, you look at Power of the Elements, which is going to be an all-time awesome, powerful set, right? 2 immediate Tier 1 archetypes rogue, like we just went over those 3 pieces of support. All of those decks become like straight up rogue level, if not higher for stuff like Exosister, could be legit tier 1. We'll see, especially with something like Tier Elements coming into the fray. But Darkwing Blast, the cover card, we saw the elemental heroes in Power of the Elements stink. They're just bad. They're really, it's support that just like doesn't do anything to make them any more competitively viable. But this set gets Blackwing support, and a lot of it, and it's actually pretty solid. Blackwing's legitimately, because of how many solid extenders and options they have that they can go down, I think that they're a legit like rogue deck that you need to keep an eye on, because it's the kind of deck that like 10 negates, like beat my 10 negate board kind of deck. I think it's much better now than it was before it playing through Interruption. It has some legitimate starters added, like this guy. They finally have a normal summon in Blackwings that gets you a +1. Really, really good. And I'm happy for him. I've always liked Blackwings, and now they're like legitimately going to rogue level just because Konami went out of their way to like give them good support. I love it. This card as well, whatever. Naturia. Naturia is one that people have been calling for years and years. This archetype has been horrid pretty much since inception. A lot of people thought that this archetype would be good on when it came out because of some of the cards they had. And I'll be honest, I've read some of their cards and I've been like, dang, some of these cards kind of strong. But at the end of the day, it wasn't enough. They didn't really have enough cohesion. They had some like payoffs, some decent payoff monsters, but not enough overall cohesiveness and engine to actually get you those things set up. So now with a card like Mole Cricket and Camellia, I think they also have a quick play spell that's like a Monster Reborn and does some other things. But mostly these 2 cards are huge. Mole Cricket potentially just quick effect Lone Fire Blossoming for like any 1 or 2 Naturia monsters, as well as something like Camellia dumping the World Tree so that you can just search. Is it World Tree? Whatever the Naturia continuous trap, that when it's sent, it can add any Naturia card from deck to hand. So like essentially just becomes a searcher, and it's like a level 4 tuner, and it can like reborn a monster on your opponent's turn. Like really, really solid cards for Naturia. I think that engine is actually a little bit spicy. I mean, they have some payoffs like Naturia Rose Whip, whichever the Bumblebee one is with the stinger. It's like if your opponent, I think it's if they special summon, you can just pop that card by tributing a Naturia. With the new support, you're much better just like summoning multiple Naturias on your opponent's turn, and that effect is not once per turn. So as long as your opponent keeps special summoning, you just keep going pop, pop, pop by attributing the Naturia monsters that you keep churning out, which is pretty cool. So I do think this new support is awesome for them. Hopefully they maybe find a home with something like Vernalizer Fairy. I think could be potential because they're all Earth, which is pretty cool. But we'll have to see. Draco Slayers. This one could legit end up being a tiered deck as well. I just think part of it is pendulums are always a little bit curious. Not enough people play them and understand them on the higher level. So we kind of have to wait for the legit, like smaller community of pendulum players to lab these cards and really figure out how good they're going to be. But I think these Draco Slayer cards are phenomenal. They really read like custom cards. They're crazy. But I'm very excited to mess around with them, especially like a more mid-range version of the deck for sure. Vernalizer Fairy. I know this is another new archetype, but they got a boss monster. Felt like that's kind of what they were missing. I didn't know if they were going to get an extra deck monster or if they were going to get a main deck. They have a main deck one here. I'm still kind of holding out that they'll get maybe like a Link 2 that has like a pretty nice Earth support type effects. That would be really cool. But this is a really good card. Pretty easy for them to get out. Offers them disruption. Offers them recursion. It's pretty good. I mean, yeah. And also like helps you play into boards. Just steal your opponent's monsters. That is a thumbnail. We're not going to look at that. That's not important. But yeah. I mean, like long story short, I just felt like Konami over the last 2 core sets specifically has turned on the jets for legacy support. I respect it. I support it. And I want Konami to keep up on it. Whether it's these new structure decks that are supporting stuff like Dark Worlds. I didn't even bring that up here, and I should have. We only had the first 4 cards out of most likely 8 total cards for Dark Worlds, and they already look like they could be a legit like meta contending archetype. We'll see how it goes with like the rest of their support and where they really round out to be. But like that deck is scary, really, really scary. I think Silva's going to get banned, legitimately. But, you know, that's a video for a whole other time. Long story short, I'm happy Konami's killing it with legacy support. It makes me hopeful because there's a handful of archetypes that I obviously have and any player has where they're like, you know what, I'd love to see this archetype get some awesome legacy support. And the fact that they're just hitting a bunch of them out of the park really just gives me good hope that, like, if they came back to Teller Knights, gave them 2-3 cards, they would legit just make Teller Knights like a legit competitive playing, like, control deck again. I don't know if it'd be tier 1, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, make them solid, playable. They're, like, not good enough, not playable for 2022 standards. And that's all I want. I just want them to be certified playable, good enough to be like a rogue deck in modern day standards. And that's not asking too much, but we'll see. I just want to give Konami credit. Like, that's all it is. I just like talking about this stuff because a lot of times they do come up short. But, like, as of late, they're just doing a good job. So there you go. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, guys, let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about this topic in general. Like, do you agree? Do you think I'm just, like, kind of cutting, am I kind of just undermining, like, the support that we've gotten in the last core sets, like, prior to this one? Or, I don't know. I just felt like, to me, for some reason, like, these supports kind of hit harder than, like, the other ones. So maybe that's because these are archetypes that I was already interested in, and that kind of made them, like, feel more impactful, whereas we've had good legacy support in the last couple years, but they just weren't always for decks that I was already looking at, so I didn't pay as much mind to them. Could be stuff like that. I don't know, but, you know, let me know down below. I'm out of here. Thank you so much for watching, as always. I will see you in the next video. Peace.